Odyssey, Pinstripe, Ori and the Hidden Forest. 3 very gorgeous games, but how does one make a game look this good? Well, it's a combination of skill, hard work, and math. Now the math of color is called color theory, also known as the art and science of using color. And the easiest way to use it is AI. Countless color palette generators exist that use maths and AI to create a selection of colors. And from those colors, we can make a game. This is Color to Games Episode 2. The color palette generator we'll be using is a Coolers app. Just hit generate and it made this. The defining features of this palette is a combination of deep blue colors and the mossy green colors. Looks like something you'd expect to see in the deep ocean. And the dark gray works great to complement both of them. So we're making an underwater game. We can start by making the player a gray submarine and it goes around the screen avoiding these green seaweeds that grow and try to kill it. Nice idea, but it has 2 major issues. The first is that the color of the submarine doesn't seem fit for a main character, as it's a bit too dull in what will be a somewhat colorful world. And the second, when moving the sub from right to left, it flips upside down. How about the submarines are enemies instead? And the player is a moss-like structure where they can grow in different directions, consuming everything they touch. Very interesting concept, but managing through this game would be very difficult. A simpler mechanic is probably necessary. Well, how about instead of growing in a certain direction, the player can draw a line where some of its moss goes to and acts as a shield, where they get destroyed during impact. Great idea, but one thing was left. A way to increase the amount of moss the player has is necessary, because they will be constantly losing it. So we can add these extra moss pieces just flying around the screen, which we can capture and make us grow in size. Let's start from the easiest part. We can create a submarine that goes from the edge of the screen to the center of the screen, and add a spawning script so that it spawns from the right and the left edge of the screen. We have our enemies. Okay, next comes the player. Using a particle system and with a bit of magic called trial and error, it started to look like this. Nice. A code was created that runs every physics frame to check if the current mouse position's distance from the last assigned point is greater than a certain amount of pixels. And if it is, a new point is added to the list at the position where the mouse cursor currently is. A line 2D element is then created with its points lining up with the points of the list, and once you let go of the mouse button, it spawns a wall element at every point. This works, but, well, this can happen. Because if you drag the mouse fast enough, by the time the system checks for the distance of the mouse, it has already traveled twice the assigned distance, creating a gap big enough to let a submarine go through it. The simplest solution is every time a new point is assigned, check the distance, calculate how much points in between is necessary if necessary, and using a loop place all of those walls in their designated positions. Et voila, the prototype. Sadly, I wasn't able to get much feedback, but it was obvious that the game was a bit stale and repetitive, so more content was necessary. But before that, we need to decide what our style the enemies were going to be. I had 2 different possible images that could be used, but there could only be one. I let you guys decide the winner. I created a post and around 110 of you voted on which style of submarines we would be using. And the winner is Tactica. And with that style, we now have 3 enemies in total. Regular enemies with 2 life points and 2 damage points. Buff enemies with 10 life points and 5 damage points, and boom enemies with 1 life point and 20 damage points, with added effect of chain destroying all walls nearby. And now comes the moment we've all been waiting for. This part of the game dev process is the most important because color to games. So I need a little bit of reference to see a vision for what the game would probably look like. One thing I can do is make the game seem much larger so that we'll be able to create this gradient from light blue at the top to dark blue at the bottom, and with foliage in the background to make it seem less static. But the game still felt too static, which means we needed some movement in the background. And underwater there is only one obvious solution: fishes. So I added this shader that creates a grid of fishes and using some math hides some of the fishes while making other visible. Then rotates all of these fishes individually into a certain direction and moves the entire layer towards that direction. Finally, we create a few layers, adjust all their visibilities, and we have a game. Thus, it is time for... I started with music, because why not? And to do music, we need a DAW, or a digital audio workplace. What's that, you may ask? Well, it's something that does this. The DAW used for this project was LMMS, a free, fairly intuitive DAW, and within a few hours of placing different sized rectangles in random positions, we have this. Plug that boy into the game and we get sound effects were way easier to do. All I did was, well, it's just better to show you. The game is done. The link is down in the description below, and this is a part of the video where I ask you to like and subscribe if you've enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching this far, and have a nice day. Goodbye.